morning, everyone. I'm Micheline from Americana Quilting. We do custom quilting and long arming, and you can find a link to our website in the description below. Hope everybody's having a wonderful day. Now, let's get a little bit of housekeeping out of the way. Please like, share, subscribe, comment. I love your comments. All those things really help our channel to grow. And I really do answer every single comment. And I love to see where you guys are watching from. Now, as you know, I'm a really big fan of Brenda from Conquering Mount Scrapmore and the potato chip block. This is another potato chip block, but this one is going to disappear, kind of the way potato chips do around me. Okay, so I've used a lot of scraps, and I've used 2 jelly rolls from Riley Blake. One was the inspiration. It was the Gingham Foundry, My Mind's Eye. That's where I came up with the color combination of these yellowy golds and the navies. And then from there, I just used scraps to fill in. You'll be able to get a PDF of this pattern from our website, so don't think you have to write anything down or anything like that. As a matter of fact, I don't even know how many of these blocks I'm going to use. I do know that I cut almost 600 of the little potato chips to be able to make this block. And speaking of these little chips, I've had a lot of people ask me in the comments because I've made 2 other potato chip block videos, and I had a lot of people ask me, why can't I just use my 2.5 by 5 inches, just cut my charm pack in half? Why can't I do that? Well, I'm gonna tell you why. When you do your 1/4 inch seam right here, from here to here, it's 4.5 inches. That's why it has to be 2.5 by 4.5, or another set of figures that the length is divisible by the width. Okay, so that's the thing that's really important. Now, if you want to see me sew together a potato chip block, you can go to one of my other videos, and I'll leave those in the links below, and you can watch me make it. But I'm just going to set one up here and talk you through this, because then we'll get on to the disappearing part. Okay, so you put your two of your contrasting fabrics, we'll call these the lights, in the middle, and then you top and put a dark one on the top and bottom of that. Then you're going to put 2 darks down the side. You'll sew this seam right here, and then you'll put those 2 along that side and seam it to that. Do the same thing over here. Then we're going to switch back to our lights. You're going to put 2 up here, again sewing this seam here and then sewing it to this. We're going to do the same thing down here, and then we're going to sew 3 of them together and put it along one side, and the other 3 we're going to sew together and put along that side. And now we're going to switch to the blues. We're going to put 3 blues across the top. Okay, and then we're going to put 3 rows across here, or 3 blues across here. Oopsies. And then we're going to go to 4, and we're going to put 4 down one side, like so, and 4 down the other side, like so. And that is how you construct the potato chip block. Okay, now the other thing that's kind of fun about the potato chip block is the pressing of it. Okay, on the back you can see that all the seams are pressed away from the center, and I very carefully pressed it first from the back to get all those seams laid flat, and then I flipped it over and again very carefully pressed it across the grain or with the grain, never on the bias. I spray starched it really good. I pressed it again with some steam, get that nice and flat. Okay, we're going to be cutting it on the bias. We don't want it stretched out, and where you really start to stretch things out is with your pressing. If you're ironing it and you're ironing it across the bias, this guy's just going to start growing, and he's no longer going to be a square. He is still right now a square. And that's what we're going to need. Now let me get everything reset, and I'm going to show you how to make them disappear. All right, let me show you how to cut one of these up. We're going to be making 2 cuts to make our potato chip block disappear, and they are going to be diagonal cuts. So the first cut, I'm lining it up from here to here, and I'm taking a look at here, and you know, it's pretty close to onto all of these little intersections. This one right here is a little bit off, but that'll be in the seam allowance. That's okay. They're not all going to match, and that's perfectly fine with me. Okay, get that cut made. Now I'm just going to spin this around and go diagonal in this other direction. And again, oops, there we go. Again, I'm hitting most of my marks just really good on this side. This is the reason why that pressing is so important, because if you're pressing too hard on the diagonal, you won't be able to cut that correctly. Okay, there we go. Now, that's how we cut every one of them. Now we're going to go over to the table and lay them all out, and I'll show you the design it makes. First things first, I want to give you an overall look at the pattern and how it zigzags through. Completely changes the entire look of the potato chip block. Now let me reposition and move you a little bit closer so you can see what I've done to put this together like this. Now that you've seen the overall design, let me show you how that came together. Okay, I've got 6 of my triangles that I cut up, one going up, the next one going down, then up, then down, then up, then down. And I've got a half a triangle over on this side and a half a triangle over on this side. Now, I'm designing this as I go, and I had enough fabric to make 18 blocks, and that's all that I had. So that's what I'm doing this with. So there was some math involved that you don't need to listen to. It'll all be in the PDF. If you want to make this quilt, you'll be able to find it there. But if I had been able to do an odd number of these triangles across, then I would have been able to just use one triangle and split it in half and put one side here and one side there. But because I've got an even number, I needed to use one there and one there. Now, I was able to use some of it down the sides, but there was some extra left over. So I'm going to have a little bonus project, and I'll share that with you too. But I really love the way this disappearing potato chip block has turned out. These peaks and valleys, I never would have imagined that I could have gotten that out of a potato chip block, and we did. Now it's time to put all these things together. I think what I'm going to do, beyond just labeling each row like I do, I'm going to go ahead and just overlap them ever so slightly and put a pin where they overlap and take it to my machine that way. That way I don't get anything confused and turned around. Because I did spend a good amount of time yesterday making sure that, you know, like these two weren't the exact same fabric right next to one another, or that these two weren't the exact same fabric. So I did some manipulating and moving things around, and I think this is going to be just right. So I want to keep them in that order. All right, let's go over to the machine and I'll show you how to sew one of these together. All right, I've got this long strip that's pinned all together, makes it look really funky. I've got it all laid out here. Now I've moved this little short piece out of my way for the time being because I want to do the center ones before I do the end ones. When you cut them in half, they're a little bit smaller, so we've got to make them fit the right way. Even if it makes this outer edge a little bit funky, we want this edge that's closest with everything else to be just right. So I'm going to sew the inside first. So I'm going to take that pin out that connects these two right here, flatten that out just a little bit, and then I'm going to flip this guy over. Okay, let's see here, flip him over, and there's going to be about 1/4 of an inch on either side of a 1/4 of an inch overlapping, like the tip. Let me pull this to you. There's a little tip right there that's about a 1/4 of an inch, and on this side as well, there's about a 1/4 of an inch overhanging that piece, okay? And that's where we're going to start sewing. So what I want to do is I want my, there we go, now I got it there. I want that to go right, I want my needle to start right where those two pieces intersect. That'll be a good 1/4 of an inch mark. Lower my stitches to 2.0, and then I'm going to stick that right in there and go. I did put one needle in there, but I was out of needles, so this one wouldn't be a bad one to go ahead and pin, because all these edges are bias at this point. So if you stretch them out, you stretched them out. So some pins wouldn't be a bad idea. There we go. Now I noticed that as I was doing the last part of that seam, my fabric did one of those. So my 1/4 of an inch is not a 1/4 of an inch right there. It goes that way. So I'm going to fix that. It hit that last seam and it was going the way it wanted to go. So I'm going to start back here a little ways. Oh, did I break my thread? Let me see. Yep, I lost my thread. Oh, I think I ran out of thread. Helps if you have thread in it. Let me fix that. I'll be right back. All right, the machine is threaded back up again. Now let me fix my mistake. So I'm going to start back here just a little bit and go forward. And now I'm going to hold on to that bottom piece a little bit better so that it goes through at that 1/4 inch. There we go. Now we got that right. Okay, trim that thread. There we go. So let me stand up here. You can see initially my stitching line went that way and I corrected it so it went straight. Okay? Those are those little things that really make a big difference. All right, let's do another line. You get it all straightened up here. Take a pin out. Ouch! There's another pin over there. Ow! And this time I'm going to turn it this way. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to make sure that that one is over the edge by a 1/4 of an inch. And now I have 2 hole pins to use. So I'm going to put one there. And then I'm going to kind of go in the middle here with my other one. And after I do yet another seam, I'll be able to come off just a little bit more. I'll be able to use another pin. Make do with what you have, right? Okay, so I've got them put together. And bring it over here. Okay. Come on, get on it. Nope, it's not catching. Okay. Machine is wanting to be a little bit fussy today, but I'm smarter than my machine. Okay, so I'm going to go forward and then I'm going to go back a couple of stitches. So what I did, because my machine didn't want to go over that first hump because it's got a little seam in it, and so it was giving me a hard time getting over that. So what I did is I came up into the fabric, did a few stitches, and then went backwards and caught the edge of the fabric, and now I'm coming forward, okay? So you just have, sometimes you just have to manipulate things and make them do your bidding. You are the boss of your fabric. I'm being silly. Okay. I just took and moved that needle down a little bit, and it's because this is bias. I don't normally use needles, but this is a bias edge, and sometimes it's just better to be safe than sorry. Okay. All right. I'm holding the last piece together so it doesn't bump out again. Make that a little bit better. This is where these fingernails come in handy because, like I said, they work as a stiletto where you can push and pull your fabric. Well, with these long fingernails, I can push it on up in there. Okay, so now we've got 2 pieces sewn. Let me turn it this way. Take that off. Okay, so now you can see at the top here that these 2 pieces are straight. We've got some dog ears to cut off there, but that turned out really nice. Okay, so now I'm going to do that the rest of the way down, and then I'll come back and show you how to position these end pieces, okay? Now on to the ends, okay? I want this inner edge to overlap that 1/4 of an inch. Because that's the side I want even. If it's a little bit short on the end here, well, we can trim that down just a little bit. So I'm going to make sure that goes over the other one by a 1/4 of an inch. See where there's that little V right there? That's about a 1/4 of an inch. And I'm eyeballing it, and that's fine. Okay, so then I'm going to put these little pins in here. And you can see that at this end, it doesn't quite match that, and that's okay. All right, I've already got the other side set up, so we're going to start on it. Get my glasses back. Can't do without those. Okay. I was concentrating so much I couldn't talk. There we go. And now you can see that that end is straight with this, or this top piece is straight. So I'm going to do the other end. I'm going to press all of these. It's going, the pressing is going to be one on the ends. It'll probably be pressed like that. But as we get down here, because I'm pressing this one up here this way, when I get down to the bottom, one of these is going to have to be pressed. It's going to take some fiddling with the pressing. But what I'll do that when I get over to the pressing station. Again, being super, super careful not to iron across that bias. And you will notice that no seams match. So that makes it really fun and easy, and you're not having to match all those seams. Okay, let me get this one finished, and I have 8 more to do like that. So we're going to get that finished, get it all laid back out on the table so you can see it. I figured out my pressing woes. You do need to press the seams open. Not the one necessarily on the end. It can just go towards the end. But all the other ones you do have to press open. That makes it lay the nicest, and that made it worth the extra time that it took to do that. Now I want to show you something else too. On these ends, you see how uneven this is right here, how he sticks out. Let me put this up here, maybe you can see a little bit better. There, you see how that's uneven? Because this is the one that I cut in half, and I cut it directly in half. If I had wanted it to come out a little bit more, I could have cut it off center. And is it almost your dinner time? Yeah, it's almost their dinner time, and they're telling me, stop sewing, Mommy, stop sewing. Yes, Willow. Yes, Willow. I love you too. All right, go play. All right. So I could have off. I could have just left this one whole and cut it off in the end. But I kind of wanted to do an extra project with it, and this way I'll be able to. Would you remove my arm from your mouth, please? He's not biting down. Okay, that's enough. Thank you. Ew. Ew. I have a feeling I'm going to have to stop and go get these guys fed. But I just want to get through this. Okay, so I've got a couple of pieces put together here. I'm going to pin quite a lot on this, and I'll get all that sewn up, and then I'll get it laid back out on the table. But first, I'm going to go feed the dogs their dinner. Yeah, I'll go feed you. I will. Okay, let's go get fed. Potato chip block disappeared. Oh gosh, I love the way this turned out. By the way, this is my ode to Christmas in July. I made this block so you can see where this one started, and this is out of Christmas fabric. So that's my ode to Christmas in July. How do I get from this to this? I cut it twice diagonally, once this way, once this way. That's all there is to it. That's the magic revealed. I love how it turned out. I love the peaks and the valleys. I know you can get a similar look to this by doing strip piecing, but this, gosh, it just gives you all these little tiny bits and pieces. Makes it look like you worked super, super hard on it when you really didn't. It was a lot of fun. I highly recommend it. Again, you can find the pattern on our website, and there'll be a link to that in the description below. I added a nice good sized border, and I quilted it with a pattern called Eddie's, which is a nice big swirly pattern. I like doing something like that when I have something really linear going on. Backed it with the same thing as what I bordered it in. I'm just over the moon with how this turned out. I have always been so fascinated by the disappearing blocks and all the different things you can do with them, or all the different iterations you can get out of, say, a 9-patch. And that's where I started with this, was cutting it. I started initially by making one of these and cutting it down this way twice and this way twice, and it made for an interesting block, but it wasn't what I wanted it to be. So I thought about it for a long time, and then I went, oh my gosh, I can cut it diagonally. And I think that was the key. I really love it. Hi. So's Bullet. And here comes Willow. All right, maybe it's their dinner time. All right, I had enough left over from where I cut the ends off to make another little project. I haven't quilted this one yet. And I will say that, and I even changed this, I put these in a different way, orientation. I oriented these blocks differently than I did these blocks, so they look completely different. So if you wanted to do that for a whole quilt, you could. The key to this quilt is it is going to be on bias. So you watch your 1/4 inch seams, especially at this stage, because if you get your 1/4 inch seams messed up at this stage, then it won't be an actual square, and you'll be hard pressed to get these triangles, right? And watch your pressing, because again, that will make it not be square. So that's it. Do 1/4 inch seams correctly, and you press correctly. Okay, now look at this one. This is so cute. These are the ends. Let me get up here close. So this right here is an end that I cut off, and there are 8 ends in each block. And I just oriented them so that they made a pinwheel in the middle. So if you wanted to cut these all down the center like that, so take this triangle, which was a 1/4 of the original block. If you wanted to cut it this way and make your entire quilt look like that, you could. Isn't that fun? Really fun. So here's my extra little project. Haven't quilted it yet. I'll get that done. Very fun. All right. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. Do all the things that make the algorithm sing. Until next time, stay quilting.